Hi, everyone. It's Marcy here with PNS Anina, and today I'm so excited to have Bill Gimbel from Secured Signing. Bill, thank you. Bill, tell me about yourself.
I've been involved in the notary industry since 1997. I had sold a medical business I had and opened up Nationwide Document Service, which became one of the nation's largest signing services, conducting as much as 1,000 notarial events in a single day.
Wow.
So what that has taught me is where the potholes are, where the problems are. And you've got to, in the raw environment, be able to address everything that occurred in the wet world. From that, I've gone on to being a founding standards director at MISMO, also in PRIA, and also now in the medical industry, as well as being a consultant to the Mortgage Bankers Association, as well as the American Bar Association. So I guess all this gray hair has given me some benefit. I think it's
Sounds
the
like you're very
right.
busy.
It's the Helen Reddy verse, the wisdom born of pain.
Well, we're happy to have all the experience today. Now, you and I have talked plenty of times about this, but I think, and this is probably one of the number one questions that I see in the groups online. Notaries will say, what's the best platform to use, right? And that is sort of a difficult question because I will say for most notaries, they look at price first. And while price is very important, because let's be realistic, if you can't afford the platform and you're not profitable, it's not probably the best business model. But within price becomes that conversation of comparing apples to apples, right? And not apples to oranges. But what else should they be looking at? And so I'm coming right to you to tell me what are the other questions? What features? What should they be really paying close attention to when they're deciding what the best platform is for their notary business?
Right, and that's, Marcy, candidly, probably one of our biggest challenges is the notaries, because this is so new, don't know the questions to ask. And they can be easily led down that parenthetical garden path if they don't know those questions. And we have provided, and I believe there's a link on your site, to a compliance features checklist that was cooperated with a number of notary associations that we created to answer that. But the short answer is, first, you must have a platform that's compliant. You need to know your state's rules and regulations with regards to RON. Some states list those platforms that are compliant. Some states do not. They just put it back on the notary that says that platform must be compliant. So if you're asking a platform about its compliance and security, you want to ask them if it is specifically compliant to their state's rules and why is that such. Secondarily, you should have a platform, and this is going to be important to you and particularly to your clients. Is the platform in and of itself either an ISO or a SOC 2 approved platform? That's an independent body of investigators that go in and check your site for security, for compliance, for uptime, and they give you an independent audit that you are compliant with best practice standards. Any platform you use should actually have those in place. Secondarily, now there are other provisions that are required in various distinct markets. In the mortgage markets is MISMO. Is the platform MISMO compliant? In the medical market, there's HIPAA. Is it HIPAA compliant? In the legal market, there's the ABA guidelines and rules of best practice. So based on the industries that you're in, you want to make sure if there are extraneous or additional guidelines that your platforms meet those guidelines. Secondarily, does your platform allow for all the forms of identification that's associated in your venue? Knowledge-based authentication, ID valuation with biometric face matching, personally known, witness, credible witness, because these are things that are going to occur. And I think that's where we land one of the benefits is having been in the industry for 27, 8 years. We know where the problems are and have accommodated those in the creation of a platform. Does the platform offer two-part authentication for login? Is the journal, and this is important because I see some platforms that not, is the journal under exclusive control of the notary? It's not going to be automatically forwarded to a title company you're recording, because that recording is your responsibility. It's part of your exclusive control of the journal. So anybody that requests a copy of the journal or a copy of the recording must be a legitimate request and must be made separately and not as a default. Just send it to me every single time you do a recording. That could be a big problem. In the cloud-based, and they're all cloud-based, are they operating off a secure socket layer? Are they SSL secured? That's important. does the journal allow you to make additional entries after the event? Meaning you enter your journal when you start, something weird happens during the signing, which as we all know, it does. And you
Never
want to make, yeah,
happens.
right,
Nothing
right,
odd ever happens in
right.
a
No,
notarization.
it's like the demo. It's always perfect, right?
Always.
So you want to make sure that you can go in post event and enter some notes. Now you can't erase notes, and you should not be able to erase notes. You can just add either corrections or additional notes to that journal. And also, can you download that journal at any time? Most states require, well, all states require that the journal be secure and saved. Most states require a backup. Now, many of the platforms will offer you the ability to save the journal and also have a separate backup, say at AWS on the West Coast. But do you also have the ability to download that journal yourself? And also, if you stop being a notary, you still are responsible for access to that journal for up to 10 years. So if you no longer subscribe to that platform, will you still be able to access that journal if you didn't download?
That's such an important piece of this, right? I think that we don't think that. We think we're always going to be notaries, but we know that might not always be the case. Do we still have access after the fact? I love that you brought that up because I don't think that most notaries think to ask that question. Can I still check my journal? So can I still get that audio, recording, that
Right?
visual recording? Do I have to have a certain process? Do I need to pay you to continue to store that while I'm not
Yes.
on your platform?
That's a very important question. We don't, if you stop your subscription, you still have free access to your journal without paying anything. But I do recommend as a best practice that notaries go in at least once a month, even though we're backing that up, and download that journal. Because you don't want to, after 5 years, say, oh my goodness, I've got to download my journal. And you've got a gazillion gigabytes of stuff you have to play with.
A
So
gazillion.
yes, because I would, a gazillion gigabytes. So I would definitely recommend that every notary back up their journal to their own separate hard drive. You can get one at Costco for $70, at least once a month as a backup and protection. Uh, do you have the ability, and then all these are compliance issues. These aren't necessarily features, which indeed, of course, they are, but these are best practice compliance features. Does the platform allow you to upload your own state's acknowledgement in the middle of a session? Let's say you upload a document, you get down to it, and you're in the middle of a session, and oh my goodness, there's a Louisiana jurat, which is way different than, say, an Arizona or New York jurat. Can you replace that during the live session? That's critical. I mean, because you're going to run in that. How many times have you guys and have us gone to a signing and we open the docs and we need a freestanding acknowledgement or a freestanding journal? All
Or
notaries
their
carry
name
those.
is
Yeah,
spelled
right,
incorrectly, or the date is incorrect, right? We
right.
love to say that we can prepare that, but sometimes you're getting documents on the fly, or we're getting information and it's not correct, and you get in there, it's different. Being able to edit in that session is critical,
Oh, it's
right, in
vital.
order to get the notarization completed.
Yeah, that's critical. How many times have you guys been in a signing? I have. When you get a call from the escrow officer, wait. I got to change the docs. I'm going to email you this doc, and you're sitting there at the signer's house going, Mr. Signer, do you have a printer? Or
Yes.
wait a minute while I go to my car. So you've got to have the ability to make those dynamic changes. So what I would recommend to you guys prior to investigating platforms is make a list of those critical, crazy elements that you've experienced in the wet world. And then ask the platform, well, how would you accommodate this? How would you accommodate a bad signature? Or I get to a signing and I found out that Joe Signer is signing as attorney in fact for Jane Signer. How do I change that? How do I get him to sign both sides with different signatures? You got to be able to
Or the
accommodate
wife
that.
has to sign, and we didn't know
Right.
that there was a wife involved.
Right, exactly. Or additional signer, or the witnesses change at the last minute. Again, all those dynamic, valuable features that occur in the wet world are going to occur in the Ron world. So remember, Ron is not Jason, so don't be afraid of him. But you've got to practice. And again, make a mental list of those items that go on in the wet world and how would you accommodate. Another very important application is, does the platform use only PKI digital signatures, not electronic signatures? Big difference. So does the platform for all signers use PKI digital auditable signatures for the signer side application? The other thing that become a lot, particularly in Florida and other states, how do you verify an individual that's not a U.S. citizen? if your state allows you to do, let's say, ID validation of a foreign license or a foreign government issued picture ID, plus a biometric face match, which is a two-part ID, you can do those, but check with your jurisdiction. That should be in it, and it relates to your ability to understand and review your Notary RON rules. So again, our platform allows you to do that, but make sure that your state's venue allows you to participate in that sort of ID evaluation.
And your customer, right? I think it's important to put this out here too.
Yes.
Some title insurance underwriters, some receive the documents, have a specific need, right, as to how the document has to be, how the info has to be verified. So it's important to make sure that you're talking to them as well as how that's being done on your side.
Yeah, exactly. So again, you've got your venues rules, then you got your rules of your marketplace. So you got to kind of commingle that. Now your marketplace can add additional rules, but don't let them fool you into thinking that you can bypass your state or your venues rules.
100%.
Yeah, so that's something notaries have to be very cognizant of, because we, we've all been in situations where we've had a title officer say, well, let's just do it this way. Come on, let's just do it this way. And you can't. And trust me, in most notarial transactions, it's not a big deal till it happens, and then it's a very big deal. We've had notaries lose their commission over no res mea, over no criminal intent. They were just trying to help the signer. So be cognizant of your state's rules.
That's when notaries get in trouble. I say this all the time, right? Notaries get in trouble because by nature, we're helpers. We want to help. But I tell notaries too, like, Ron, this is a whole recording. It's not like there's a he said, she said situation here. It's all on camera, right?
Yeah.
So there is a paper trail involved. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, because certainly that is, let's be realistic, that's protection for me as the notary as well, right? Yes. Not only the consumer, but that does protect me. It doesn't protect me if I'm doing something incorrect or wrong, unfortunately, but.
Yeah, and Marcy, that's a very, very important point. This is like the internet. It's going to be out there for 10 years. So I really encourage notaries to limit the chit chat, make a very succinct, to the point, professional presentation, and don't get involved in extraneous conversation. That can only cause you problems. Some states, such as Florida, require everything from hello to goodbye to be recorded. Some states only require the notarial act itself to be recorded. So again, be cognizant of your venue's rules with regards to that. So the platform should allow you to accommodate both of those, from hello to goodbye to only the notarial act. So again, when all the platform providers are creating the software, they have to accommodate a broad band of activity, all 42 states. So there are many things in the programs and the platforms that may not apply to your state. Again, that goes back to being aware and cognizant of your state's venue rules. The other thing that I see out there that's critically important, and it really accounts for about 70% of the problems, is preparing your signers for the session. We have, as most I'm sure should or do, have a little program that you can send to your signer in advance of the signing to make sure that their computer's not behind a firewall that won't let a heavy handshake occur. That's part of the preparation. The what world analogy is, hey, can you do a signing tomorrow in Chicago? Great, I'll send you the docs. Chicago's a pretty big place. I think you may want more information. So you're going to want to call your signer prior to the appointment, just like you do in the wet world. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we have a signing tomorrow online at 3:00. What is the device you'd be communicating on? I would like to send you a quick test to make sure your firewall does not prevent an AV handshake so that we can conduct this appropriately. So you want to qualify that first. You also want to qualify when you talk to them what you believe their competency is. I mean, if a designer said, well, I don't know anything about computers, my son's going to come over and bring his cell phone and help me with this. That's the notary's call. Do you really want to do this, or do you want to call your title agent and say your client may be best served dispatching a wet? Now, of course, as a platform provider, we like to do this, but as a professional in industry, we want to satisfy our clients. And maybe that's not the best choice for this individual signer. And that's probably why we do not see a lot of reverse mortgage executions through RON. So again,
it's difficult. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important out there, is that you don't want frustration to occur, right? And you don't want what should only be a 20 or a 30-minute notarization to turn it into an hour or two. And I think we've
Yes.
all unfortunately had that circumstances every once in a while. I also want to throw out and I'll let Bill go again, but do they have a stable internet connection? Where
Yes.
I live, there are lots of rural areas and they don't have great internet. And if you don't have a great internet connection, this is difficult to do too. That's a question you should certainly ask when you're talking to your site.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other element in concert with that is having them go through the identity verification process. Now, my recommendation is that they go through that process prior to the signing. Because if you have a 12 o'clock signing and your client had taken off work for during lunch to execute this, and he goes in at 11:55 to do an ID verification and he fails again, statutorily, he's locked out for 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
There may be a loan lock in there that's going to expire. So there's nothing that prevents you from doing two valuations. If your client says, well, I want them to be evaluated during the session as one consistent stream of recorded event, that's fine. But as a best practice, guys, I would have them go through it an additional KBA and or IDV prior to the session event. Many venues and many clients or enterprises will allow you to do that, because you don't want to get into an event where all of a sudden the credible witness has changed and you don't have their data. So anyway, a lot of this is preparation. And again, it's just like you did in the wet world in preparing your signings for a successful event. You want to set the expectations and how this event was going to occur. So you want to confirm that they've got stable internet. You want to confirm that they've got a good computer. They're not behind a firewall. You want to confirm that they have the ability to go through a KBA and IDV. Your platform should provide you with little videos like we do, 1 minute each. How do I go through a KBA? How do I do an IDV? How do I log in and share my screen? Again, it's educating and preparing your signer to have a successful event. So those are
And
some of the common events.
I want to throw this out too. I think it's important to remember is that even though Ron is legal, not everyone will accept an electronically notarized
Yeah.
document, right? So while it's not your responsibility as the notary to make sure that that's the case, I always ask my signer, especially in the general notary
Yes.
world, hey, did you check with the receiver of the documentation to accept it this way? Because I don't want them to spend or waste their time or money either getting a document notarized that's not beneficial to them. So that's one of the best practice for me also. Wouldn't you agree with that, Bill? Just making sure that someone will take that document to be electronically notarized.
Yes, it's kind of like the sign that you see in some of the fast food restaurants. Even though all money in the U.S. legal tender is acceptable, they won't take anything beyond a $20 bill.
Right,
So you try to give them
exactly.
a $50 bill for a hamburger and you can't do it. Well, it
Mhm.
is legal tender. Well, sorry, we just can't accept it. So that's a great point, Marcy. You want to make sure, and don't willy-nilly take it on your side to convert a paper-based signing to a RON. That's a recipe for disaster. Now, if
Mhm.
you have a title company or escrow company or construction company or medical or doctor, ask them if they've been giving you. This is a great way to increase your revenue and decrease your cost. Is if you're getting wet signings from a partner, ask them, have you ever considered doing this remotely? It's far more secure. You've got an audit trail. You've got a recording. It's a much more, the non-repudiation is much higher than paper-based. And that's a way of converting your clients over to RON. Now, I anecdotally in the market, I see them charging similar fees if you're charging a third party, but it's your expense to do that is going to be greatly reduced.
Mhm.
As an example, your platform, at least our platform, with your monthly subscription includes IPIN, in-person electronic notarization. Those are incredibly inexpensive. It actually costs you on the platform less to do that than it does to print the docs. But again, don't take it upon yourself to convert a paper-based signing that you've received into an electronic signing. Clear that first with your escrow company or whoever is giving you that assignment.
And I will say, I'm going to shamelessly plug Bill here. There have been lots of times I've called on Bill to talk to a customer of mine or give me some information to pass along because my customer who I asked about Ron was still on the fence and I needed some further information. So, uh, so even if you get an answer of
Yeah.
no, or we're not really sure, because there are lots of still companies, lenders, title companies who are not familiar with Ron, who
Yeah.
don't really understand the process, who might need some information. Whatever platform you choose should be willing to help
Yes.
with your customer, right? To give them more
Yeah.
information or set up a call to give them the information they need to make an informed decision. So I'm going to put that out there. I would never work with a platform who wouldn't be willing to work with me
Yes.
to try to convert my customers. You should make sure that whatever platform you choose is available to you in that same regard.
Yeah, exactly. Because we don't expect you to be experts at all at this, particularly in the beginning. And we're quite willing to have mutual Zoom calls with your clients to explain to them the security and the benefits of going into a RON environment. The other thing that I would like to mention, and it's very, very important, is you've got to practice this, guys. And your platform provider should show you the mechanisms on how to practice. I fully believe that RON is to notaries what Excel was to accountants. Now, would you expect, if you were an accountant, to download Excel tonight to go to audit one of your clients' books tomorrow? Wouldn't work. So what you should do now is, once you sign up for the platform, ask them, how do I practice? How do I do it with just myself so I don't embarrass my relatives? Get competent enough then to involve a friend. Say, I want you to be the signer and I'm going to be the notary, and let's do this. So make sure the platform allows you to do that and gives you credit, so you're not spending your money practicing. That's critical. I can't underestimate the ability and the necessity to practice. You're also, any platform you use should have at least weekly training sessions that are included with your subscription. Last week we had 84 notaries in our session, and you learn a lot rapidly by listening to the questions the other notaries pose. That's going to accelerate your learning curve. So make sure you have that, because it's not easy, guys. If somebody tells you this is just, it's like an app on your phone, it's like Zelle. It's not. It's going to require training. It's going to require practice.
Well, I think what's key about that too is, we've demoed a lot of different platforms, and I always tell notaries, you can pick one that's user friendly to you. There are some great platforms out there that we've talked to, and I just have said, there's no way. I know I can't navigate this platform. It is not, in my mind, it's not convenient for me. That doesn't mean it's not a great platform and convenient for someone else, but I'm the one who has to operate it. So I think that that's an important piece of the practicing is, like, does it fit in your mindset? Is it fluid? Is it clunky? Do you think it's going to be difficult for you to navigate? Because if you are not going to be able to navigate that platform during a session, then how is that going to affect you in your business and your reputation, right? And then we went back to training, which is critical too. You need to pick a platform that has the appropriate amount of training for you. If there's no training offered, if the training doesn't work for your schedule, it's not going to be beneficial. And I'm going to add to that customer service, customer support. Is there someone available? Should you have a question? What are their time frames? Is it the same time frame that you think you'll be operating? Is it phone? Is it email? Is it text? Is it chat? How can you get someone if you have a problem, right? It's technology. We all know things are going to happen. I mean, let's be realistic here. Absolutely. How are you going to navigate those challenges should they happen?
Yeah, that's a great point, Marcy, is the ability to communicate with your platform provider. And again, I can't underestimate the importance of practice. That's absolutely critical. Now, we've gone over a lot of compliance issues. There are features and benefits that each platform has, and Marcy does have a chart that you can fill out. And I know we're in about a half hour into this, Marcy, and I don't want to make this so long that nobody listens to it. But why don't you ask me some questions that you think are relevant to your audience?
Yes, so I think that was critical. We talked about that. Can I make edits during that session? And that is very important, right? Because we have to be able to work on the fly, even in the general notary space, right? Someone will send you an email and they'll be like, hey, my name is, Joe Smith. And then you get into the document and you see his ID and it's, Joseph David Smith, right? And now we have to make some corrections. So you are correct in saying edits are super important. We talked about the customer service piece and the customer support and the training. What about when it comes to like the usability of the platform itself? I know that some platforms allow like suggestions, right? Like, hey, I use this all the time, every day, Bill, and I would really love to have like a calendar feature. Or is there a way, maybe not secured, but should there be a way for notaries who are using the site, A, to submit ideas, and B, Should there be a way for notaries to find out about updates on that platform? Because certainly platforms update all the time. Is that not an important feature we'd want to know about or have the ability to be involved with?
Yes, we love to listen to notaries. We just had actually one of a big New York signing service come to us with some administrative changes they wanted to employ, which we did. So again, if you have any suggestions on improvement, please let us know. Those are very important features. Now, we do have on our website an update feature that you can sign into and say, please send me all updates. So as soon as they're published, you'll get a notification there's been an update to the secured signing platform. Another feature that I want to mention that is really key is if you have a large client that's sending you 100 pages, 150 pages, those are very tedious to prep because you may have 160 to 100 to 200 individual cells that you've got to drop on that document. If that is the case, what I would recommend you do is reach out to us and get us in contact with your client, because we can set up HTML tags so that the tagging in the document is automated when you get the document. So all you've got to do is enter the name of the signers and bang, 150 pages are all prepped in about 9 seconds. So
Amazing.
yeah, so that's important. We'll work with you on that. We have a lot of templates that allow you to, when you have repeat documents, and this is an important feature for all platforms they should have, is if you have documents you over and over and over and over again, can you pre-prep those so that when you get a request for fulfillment of that document, all you've got to do is enter the name and it's automatically prepped. That really saves you guys a tremendous amount of time. And with regards to editing, Marcy, one of the other important facts is you've got a new signing. You prep the document, it's tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And 9 o'clock, you're thinking, did I make a mistake? Did I make a mistake? Can you go back in and check that document? You know, make sure everything's right, everything's as it should be. And a lot of notaries, most I would say, particularly on the first few, want to do that just to make sure that I's are dotted and the T's are crossed so that that first session goes smoothly. Can you do
Even
that?
if you're not new, right? Sometimes you
Right.
know it's going to be difficult signing, which brings up another good point. Things you want to ask are, what if I have to stop the session for some reason? What if the signer has to run to the ladies' room or their connection is disrupted and we need to restart? How does that work? How does it work in terms of cost? How does that work in terms of documentation? Can I use the same thing? Will it still be tagged? Right? I know it sounds like a silly question, but there are
No.
some platforms who you can't, right? You have to go back and retag if you needed to, or things like
Oh
that.
no, that's
But
no,
you always
that's
have to think about worst case scenario, right? I always come from a place of worst case scenario. But
right.
those are important things to consider
Absolutely.
too.
Absolutely. I know on our platform, the signer can disrupt and the video will continue for up to 5 minutes. So if their internet went out, they click the wrong button and close it, they can log back in and they'll get right back where they were. Longer than 5 minutes, the session's going to disconnect and everybody have to log in again and continue. Now you won't lose your document or any prep, but you will have to start another recording. But in our platform, it allows you for a 5-minute interrupt, and the recording continues, and then the signer can rejoin. And that, Marcy, that's a good point.
Yeah, you don't really know, right? So when we talk about features, I think sometimes until it comes across that situation, you don't really know to ask, right? I'll be the first
Yeah,
person to say that until I started doing Run, I thought I knew all the questions to ask, and I was like, oh, this is an odd situation. What happens here? So you don't. So we will put that checklist that Bill gave in the comments or in the PDF there on the site so you can have it. But I think it's a really great start. And then certainly, if I were you, I would add questions that are specific to
yes,
you and what your business is like, right? Are you doing mainly loan signings? Are you doing estate documents? Are you doing general notary work? And it's mostly like post office forms or passport forms, right? Are you doing documentation to be used for an apostille? Like those are circumstances, right, that
right.
you might have different questions. And I have another good one, I think, too, is how many signers can be a session? How many witnesses? How many observers? I know, Bill, you had one recently in New York where one of your people had multiple signers in
11.
multiple countries, right?
Yes.
That's important to know because you don't want to end up with a platform that says to you, I only can take 2 signers and 2
Yeah.
witnesses, and now you've got all this work coming your way that that you can't help. I will say this too, in the very beginning when I started this, I thought one platform, you should pick one platform and go with that platform and do it. But I will say this, I have found actually it's good to be on two
Yes,
platforms
it is. Yes, it
just
is.
in case, right? Not only for technology, but in my mind, the platforms, one platform suits one set of needs and the other suits another set of needs. And so that's also an important conversation to have is, I don't have to necessarily be on one, but what would fulfill all of the situations or the questions or whatever I might have in regards to all the business that I want to do.
Yeah, that's honestly, Marcia, I would say most of our notaries have multiple platforms, for those very same reasons.
I'm going to give you a minute here to plug Secured.
Okay, here we
I'm
go.
a big advocate of Secured. I think they're great, and I think Bill is wonderful. So I put his name out there to everyone, but I do want Bill to tell you why I think that. So Bill, tell him why.
Okay, first of all, our platform, there are no upfront fees. It's $9.95 a month to month. If you don't like it, you cancel. There's no cancellation fees. And then there's a pay to play. An average notarization costs you around $11. Every Wednesday at 3 o'clock East Coast time, we have a live demonstration that you can go and ask any and all questions. If you are a paid member, you can sign up for the Thursday 3 o'clock East Coast time training class. The platform's incredibly robust, and it includes e-signatures with video confirmation, RIN on those few states that allow that, as well as IPIN. That's all included in your subscription. And again, if you cancel your subscription, you still have unlimited access to your journal for 10 years. So there's very little penalty. I really believe, because I'm the architect on two other platforms, I did my first run in July 2013. Wow, more than 10 years ago. So it's a great platform to put your toe in the water. We're not asking for an arm and a leg, just a toe to dip in the water there to see if this is for you. And rather than go into a great sales pitch, Marcy, honestly, it's a great platform just to begin out with and to continue on. It's extremely robust.
Well, I appreciate all of that. We're wherever you're watching this, whether it's on our YouTube channel or our NINA page, we'll have the link to a demo that Bill did with us for Secured. So you can see the platform in action, which is very important in my mind. So please watch that. And we'll have the PDF to this compliance. And we'll have a link to sign up for Secured that will give you 25 documents, an increase over what everybody else gets out there. So we love that we have that feature too. Bill, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us today. This was such wonderful information. I hope that the notaries out there reach out to you. Bill's information will be below here too, so you can certainly reach out to him directly if you like. But thank you again so much. We really had a very informative session today. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Marcy, and thank you everyone for listening. We'll listen to this. If you need any assistance, please reach out. We're here to help.
Thank you. Everyone have a good day.
You as well. Bye-bye.